Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining the panel today. I want to introduce my wonderful friends who have had the time to get together and have a tabletop discussion. I have Karen Downy, who is joining us from Colorado, and I have Cathy Richman and Susan Jarboe, and Reverend Linda, who's joining us from the East Coast. So we're coming across all parts of America to share our thoughts and have this conversation. And I'm going to lead the discussion today. But before I do that, I would like to just take a moment to allow us to get centered and get focused and just be present in this moment. So if it helps to close your eyes through this so you can close out the distractions around you, do that. And just focus on your breathing and slow the breathing down. That helps slow the heart down and circulate through your body, brings release, tension. So as you breathe in, you're breathing in the spirit and the life of just love. And exhaling, you're releasing the tension that you're holding in your body. And you can begin to feel your body just beginning to melt into being present in this moment. And we call upon Spirit to be with us today, to join us in this conversation, to open our hearts through this time. And as we are in the holiday season and people are doing their gatherings with family, friends, we remember those who may be suffering or who have lost loved ones and is having a very difficult time. We ask your blessings upon those who are suffering and who are lonely and who find this time to be very difficult. We know it is a joyous time for the birth of your son, Jesus, and we want to be respectful of those who are in this time and space. And we are thankful for the many blessings that you give us, the hope and the peace and the love that surrounds us. Amen. So my topic today is making peace with grief at Christmas. And it comes from a Unity booklet, the Advent of 2022, the light, a Christmas of light and love. And so what I want to talk about, and I'm going to read this article. It was written by Reverend Therese Lee, and she is she's a minister in South Carolina, and I wanted to share this, making peace with grief at Christmas, because there are many people who find these holidays to be difficult. And so I'm going to read what she wrote because it is pretty short. So the holiday season can be difficult for those of us who have experienced change and loss, who are grieving. It may be filled with memories and feelings about people or pets who have died, or perhaps those who are no longer present at our holiday celebrations because of divorce or other estrangements. For most people, this time of year is one for celebrating joyfully as we gather. Yet for those of us who are grieving an empty place in the circle, at the table, and in our hearts, the constant reminders of togetherness can add to the overwhelming sense of grief. Whether the loss is due to death, divorce, moving, leaving the nest, or any change in relationship, it can be emotionally painful. This grief we are feeling is valid, normal, and natural, regardless of the bright Christmas lights, the carols being sung, and the delicious smell of cookies being baked. You might feel hopeless about ever feeling Christmas cheer and even wonder, what is there to be joyful about? You might even think you'd rather skip all the holiday gatherings. Your feelings and fears are not illogical or irrational. What I have come to learn and understand is that grief is the normal and natural reaction to loss, to a change in any familiar pattern of behavior. This familiar behavior could be many years old, like my being surrounded with 10 brothers and sisters on very loud Christmas mornings as kids, to this year waking up to absolute quiet now that I live alone. This familiar behavior can be more current too, from once hunting for the perfect pair of crazy dress socks for my husband to this year not buying any gifts. Knowing these are normal and natural, reactions to loss brings me great comfort. The good news is that grief doesn't have to affect holiday seasons for the rest of our lives. We can make peace with our grief during the holidays. My peacemaking practice for the holiday season is to accept, acknowledge, and allow. I accept it will be different. I acknowledge I may be uncomfortable, and I allow the feelings and emotions to come as they may. For me, here are some basic, practical, and emotionally helpful guidance reminders during this holiday season. Number one, I make a plan not to isolate, even when I feel lost and alone. Number two, I am honest about how I feel. I sit with my feelings and I talk about them. Number three, I decide which holiday traditions work for me and which ones to release and let go. Number four, I stay mindful of what and how much I am eating and drinking. Number five, I remember time doesn't heal my broken heart, my actions do. And number six, I embrace being instead of doing and don't get too busy. Whatever you choose to do or not to do this holiday season, give yourself the gift of staying true to yourself. To the best of your ability, seek out the places and people that allow your sadness and avoid those that ask you to pretend otherwise. Be gentle with yourself. Make this holiday season as much of a comfort as you can as you take care of yourself and your heart. May you be surprised to discover that even though there may be sadness, there may be moments of joy as well. And I find that this is so appropriate for me. In 1980, I celebrated Christmas with my family, and we had a wonderful time. And my grandmother joined us, and she was getting up in years, and my mother was there, and she was so excited. My mother, I can remember her opening her Christmas presents and very excited about the gifts that she got on Christmas Day, and says, "Oh, now I'm going to have to start going out and wearing these clothes and enjoying it." And the very next day, I got a phone call. I was at work, and my mother was rushed to the hospital, and she died the day after Christmas. And it went from a very joyful day and a celebration to a loss, and a very difficult loss, because the home was all decorated. Her gifts were there that I had to return. Those moments and memories had been with us. And I have to say that at that point in time, it made a change. And at her funeral service, at the mass, the organist played Christmas carols. I could not listen to Christmas carols for years because it made it too difficult, and it brought back those memories of that time. And I'm sharing it, and I'm talking about this was 1980, so this was many years ago, but those memories are still there. And that's why I can be very compassionate with somebody who has lost somebody, because like I say, time doesn't heal. Over time, they say it heals, but it still is a personal moment in time. And if somebody's lost a loved one recently or around the holidays, especially, it stays with them. It changes that holiday celebration and spirit. But now that I've had all those years behind me, I make the most of it, because I can remember that Christmas Day in 1980 that I spent with my mother, that we had that joyful time, and that she was so excited about, having this life that she was going to be able to enjoy. And I just have to say that whatever you may be feeling, if you have lost a loved one, and sometimes it just may be that your kids are elsewhere and they're not with you that day, but make the most of it and take the memories on Christmas Day of those fond times that you had together, and enjoy that you had the blessings of them in your life. And they may not be with you today, but there will be a point in time that you'll have that time again. And remember that it's always about holding them dear in your heart and blessing them and just being joyful for that experience. So I'm going to open this to the panel as to how they want to share their thoughts on, making peace with grief at Christmas time. Hey, Kathy.
Well, I'll share. And your story was really, really touching to about your mother and how you couldn't listen to Christmas carols because it reminded you of that sad time. And so I was trying to think of a time when I felt grief during the holidays. And I can't think of any that um, anything that happened or any big loss that happened during that time. To me, the holidays, Christmas is just something that's just so joyful, and it's something to look forward to, and it heals it heals perhaps thoughts that you had about family members or whatever, because you're all coming together in this joyful time. What I'm doing this year is I got in touch with a homeless organization, and then I brought it to the attention of our church members to see if they'd like to join in and buy toys for homeless children. And the response has been amazing. I left the church with my car is full of toys right now. And so for me, I can't say that have had a period where I have felt sad. It's a time to see where other people might be feeling sad and what could I do about it to make that happier. So that's what the toy drive for me is, being able to deliver these toys and know that it'll keep one child or many children from having what I would call a blue Christmas. So that's how I'd like to add to this topic.
Thank you, Kathy and Kathy. Great topic, good shares. Personally, I don't think a loss needs to be around the holidays to be felt during the holidays. No matter when somebody leaves, whether it's divorce or death or whatever, there comes that first Christmas without them, whether it was last week or 11 months ago. This is the first Christmas without them. And it does bring up an awful lot. Um, I, I kind of have my own rituals around that. I like to spend time alone on Christmas Day, although it could be any time around Christmas. It doesn't have to be on Christmas Day. And, my habit used to be to go up to the top of Iron Mountain and sing the sun up on Christmas morning. I loved doing that. And that was my time of honoring the people, not only the people, but the times that are no longer with me. When I was a little kid and couldn't wait for Santa to come, and I kind of miss those days, and now I'm nowhere near a little girl, but I get to watch that through other people. It has helped me a lot to be able to share stories about the people that I miss with people that I love during the holidays, but you don't want to make it, you don't want to bring down the party, but being able to share some of the high points often makes me feel like they are here. I brought them here by remembering them, by talking about them and having them with me. A big piece is remembering, no matter how I'm feeling, I don't know how you're feeling. And leaving that pathway open for you to express what it is you're feeling. I've been in situations where I pretended I wasn't feeling what I was feeling because I didn't want to bring anybody else down or upset anybody else. And I don't want anybody to have to pretend. So I work real hard at kind of being ready to love you and receive you wherever you are in your emotional well-being through the holidays. And I always feel very honored when people share what's really going on during the holidays. And thank you so much, Kathy Cronin, for sharing your story. You know, I'll really hold that um, about losing your mom right after Christmas. That was very powerful. That's all I've got.
Well, I really appreciated this, both for personal reasons and also for group reasons. You all know that this year my church lost a lot of people. We had a lot of deaths, and one of them was just about a month ago. And so, as Linda said, it's the first Christmas for a lot of people. And what I appreciated about what you were saying was, um, I had your list of do's and don'ts. I now have something constructive I can say to people, you know, and not that I go around giving everybody advice, but if the occasion arises, I have something constructive to say. Your example of your mother dying after Christmas reminded me of a death in my family. And it was my beloved sister-in-law, Sharon, who died the day before Thanksgiving. And our family, always has a big Thanksgiving dinner. And we continued to hold the dinner, but it it just felt different. And I know every Thanksgiving, I and the other members of our family say a prayer of gratitude that Sharon was in our lives. And so, in some ways, it's turned into a good memory, the grief. And I don't know exactly how that works, but that's what has happened. I liked what you said about traditions, figuring out which ones to keep, and which ones you might want to let go of. And this is similar to what Kathy said. Uh, our church has a tradition, it's a military outreach ministry, and we do toys every year. And we coordinate with someone who identifies particular military families. And we have a big breakfast on a Saturday, and all the toys are there, and the children can pick out their own toys. And I'm sure this tradition is going to mean a lot to those of us that are bereaved, that this is a tradition to keep. Finally, I have a question about one of the suggestions you had. You said that time does not heal wounds, but actions do. And I like that, and I don't disagree with it. But my question is this: we hear this all the time, all the time, that time will heal you, time will take care of this, time, yeah. And I'm just wondering, where does that notion of time healing everything come from? And is it really, if we are healed, is it really time that did it? And so I appreciated your notion of behaviors and actions, intentionality. That is what does it. So that's my question. Where does this time heals all wounds come from?
Susan, I'll respond to that. That, it says that it's the actions that do. And I think where it's time heals all wounds is that new things are coming on into our lives. Like I said, this was 1980 that my mother died. That's 44 years ago. But the time heals all things. It still is, it's in the forefront. I've not had my mother in my life for the last several years, but other actions, other things life has gone on. So that starts to go back into fade deeper into the memory. So it's not as prevalent as it is right now for those who are celebrating their first Christmas without a loved one, their first few years. It's like that. They're still in that mode of being with that person. But over time, life has moved on and you've moved on into new directions. And I think that's where the actions of what you're doing, of living, the action of living, starts to heal that deep wound and that deep grief, but that they don't ever go away. That I think every one of us who's lost a parent or a loved one will still always remember with sadness, that loss, that we didn't get to share this moment with them. They didn't get to see this time. It was one of the things my brother shared when he lost his wife to breast cancer. And he would say to me about the fact that she didn't get the chance to see her daughters grow up, graduate from school, get married, or their children. She never got to have that time. And that was the thing that he held on to, is that but he would always say, but I got to have this opportunity. She did not. So I think where that was for healing for him was to say, I got this. Same thing for me. The healing for me is decorating my home and having the joy and bringing that joy into my home. As I decorate that tree, I'm putting ornaments up there that I remember as a child that were my mother's, that that had been there. And it's like, I can always say, as I put certain ones I put up there, I'm saying a blessing for it. So I thought, time heals all things. I think it's just our life moves on and we're now into new, we've turned a page into something new, but it doesn't take anybody that's touched our hearts and, souls stay with us. So that's my thought. Anybody else have a thought on that? So,
Well, I like that because time heals all wounds isn't incorrect. It's just incomplete. Thank you.
Well, and I'll comment on that too real quick. Sorry, Karen, I may have cut you off. I think over time, we learn how to be in the world without the people that were a part of our everyday life. And I think that's a part of it. Also, the book in the Bible that says there is a time for every purpose, and that, there is a time to grieve, there is a time to heal. I think that might be the origins of the saying, but it takes work to heal, and just sitting and waiting for another hour to see if it's better will never work.
I'll share. Golly, thank you, everybody, and such different aspects, from the loss right at Christmas to being able to be a part of bringing gifts to the kids. I don't have anything really that exciting. It's like, I can't remember anything too exciting about childhood and Christmas. And it probably because there was always fighting going on. I also didn't ever realize until I was well into my 20s that I suffered from depression, which I was probably born with. So there was always a shadow of something else going on. As I got into adult life and being married, it took on the tone of expectations and getting the right thing, or not having the money to get toys and things for the kids. So, golly, that was like so many years ago. But for me, it was always something outside myself trying to pretend like everything was okay, like kind of like following the part. So now I'm old and I'm very grateful that my oldest son and daughter-in-law love to cook. And they also like toys and they don't mind messes or anything. And so I can go and observe the interactions. I don't have to pretend anything. I don't have to be responsible for anything that later I feel like I wasn't good enough or didn't do enough or I didn't do the right thing. I missed something. Um, I don't have that. And rather than having Christmas be that one time for gifts, I know as my grandkids were growing up, we did a Christmas together in July or August or September. And I gathered them up and we started doing different things. And that was fun. It was also exhausting. It takes a lot of energy to be a responsible adult. And you never know what's coming next with kids. So now I can watch how my kids handle their grandkids and stuff. So, and as far as the losses, I don't know if it's fortunate or what. I've lost my brother, and I miss him a lot because we used to hang out together. But as far as connections with other people, I haven't had a lot of death. Loss more is around escaping what's really going on at the time by eating or something. Usually for me, it would be eating and kind of just missing what's really going on because of what's going on inside of me, kind of that escape or isolation from what is. So life is what it is, and it isn't always happy and joy. And I think now when I'm feeling that less than being exuberant, I don't have to pretend to be exuberant. Maybe I can just go do the laundry, you know? And most Christmases over the last, well, let's say I've been divorced 32 years now. So I know I do laundry on Christmas. I know I clean on Christmas and then maybe go to the kids' and eat dinner. And it's okay. It's like, it's just okay. I don't have expectations, and no one has expectations of how I should be. So I can just show up. So thank you. Everybody came from a different point around the holidays. Thank you. Thanks to all of you for sharing.
Well, thank you, Karen and Susan and Kathy and Linda. Thank you so much for your feedback. And I'm sure that people who have watched this, that, hopefully this has touched a spot. If you're dealing with loss at Christmas time, I hope this gives you some comfort to understand that other people have been in your situations, and gives you some care. And if not, maybe you might think of somebody that's lost somebody and be a support for them, to recognize that, they're not going to feel cheerful or happy or whatever, or just find an action that you can do to help those who are grieving, or help those like Kathy's doing, is collecting toys for the homeless kids, taking action to make Christmas a little brighter for those who may be suffering. And for those, we put our hearts out to the world and give, and also lift up in prayer for those who are going through this holiday with loneliness or depression or loss, just remember to say a prayer and bless them and just keep them in your thoughts. And as you celebrate this holiday, know that we are all one in spirit and in heart. So I thank everybody and thank you for joining us, for being here with us. If you liked our topic, if you have any feedback, we'd love to hear from you. We hope this has been supportive for you. We look forward to you joining us in the future. And if you haven't subscribed already, please make sure you subscribe so that you can get notification, hit the little button and then give us a thumbs up or just your comments. And if you'd like to join our panel, reach out to the church. Following this topic, there's a closing that'll give you the information, the phone number, and that how to let them know that you would like to be a part of this panel. And we are so grateful for everyone that joins us and for the panel that takes the time to do this. And we want to acknowledge all that joined together, that we're wishing you all the best. So may you have a very Merry Christmas and may you find peace and harmony. And bye, everybody.
Thank you for joining us, and let's stay connected and grow in spirit. We are on Facebook. Search for Unity Church of El Cajon and follow us and like our posts. You can reach us on YouTube at Unity Church of El Cajon. Please subscribe to our channel, watch our videos, and leave comments which can help us improve. We are on the web at unityofelcajon.org. Email or call our church office to receive our weekly newsletters, which lists all of our activities and opportunities to learn and grow together.